Hello and welcome to my Hack Shack, located right here in Los Angeles. My name is Johnny and I support horror. This week I watched a monster flick on Shudder called Monstrum, and to tell you the truth, monster movies aren't really my thing. It's not my favorite, especially if they are heavily CGI'd. But I saw good reviews on Monstrum, so I decided to take a bite. So let's see if this creature feature has the chops to impress, shall we? Monstrum is an action fantasy horror flick released in South Korea in 2018. Shudder picked up Monstrum this year as a Shudder original, which is where I found out about this movie. As for the storyline, it's 16th century in Korea, and a plague has been running through a local town, infecting and killing a horde of people. Even worse, a vicious beast called Monstrum has been rumored to be roaming the land, just smashing up people left and right. And all of this just causes mass hysteria amongst the town. So the local king brings in his most trusted general out of retirement to investigate. I personally think Monstrum is a fun, action-packed, popcorn monster flick that is surprisingly more lighthearted and comedic than I thought it would be. It's full of traitors, backstabbing, sword fights with martial arts, and a large body count. But it also has fart jokes, some physical comedic acting, and a small love story. Let's talk about our characters first. We have a trio of heroes, I like to call them. I mean, there's another semi-main character in here too, but these three that I'm going to mention are the standout stars for sure, and forgive me if I butcher their names. First, we have Yoon, the loyal subject to the king. He's the extremely brave, loyal, fearless leader that would happily die for his people. We also have Myung, who is Yoon's adoptive daughter. She is very smart, caring, and fearless like her dad. For the time period, she's very different from other women. She's very comfortable in her own skin and a true warrior. And then there's Sung-han, the comedic relief. He's a little more pudgy and slow, doesn't look like the typical warrior, but he can spring into action when called to. He's the type of guy that's afraid of his own shadow though, which brings on a lot of comical moments. So it's the mixture of personalities that these three have that makes their journey so fun to watch. Everything from the fun banter to fighting alongside each other, they just mesh very well. I like period pieces like this one because the costuming is usually very interesting, and Monstrum did not disappoint. It really felt authentic to the times. Even though I'm not well versed in 16th century Korean wear, when you watch this movie, you're like, yeah, seems legit. And the production design was beautiful thanks to all the filming locations they chose in South Korea. We get to see a beautiful countryside, warriors trudge through the woods with torches, Monstrum's lair where he sleeps, and a beautiful town square with an epic palace where the king and his men hold all their meetings. However, I was most impressed with the fight scenes. Holy shit. The action moves, swordplay, fighting sound effects, they were all off the charts. You could tell these actors already knew martial arts or just learned the choreography really well. I love war movies in modern day, and most of the action takes place long range, right? In 16th century Korea, there were no grenade launchers or tanks. It's close up hand-to-hand combat with swords and daggers, really anything you got. It's so savage and makes for a great action movie. Now, let's talk about the creature Monstrum. After doing some research, I think they modeled this creature after a high tai, a mythical beast that protected a palace or city from natural disasters and fire. Which is ironic because this beast wreaks havoc and causes quite the damage. I was trying to think about what this thing looked like, and what it came up was with, if you mashed up the DNA of a lion and one of those fur balls from Critters, and you'd bring it to life in some mad scientist lab, and then you spilled toxic waste all over it, you'd get your Monstrum. And really, I didn't mind that this beast, Monstrum, was all CGI'd. And like I said earlier, like I said before, I don't normally like all CGI stuff. However, this film didn't take itself 100% serious, so I just let it go. And this movie was interesting because it would often switch tones. You know, it would go from dark, mysterious to goofy fun. And I loved it. You know, I just sat back, watched this horrendous beast with boils all over it, smash up people and create a high body count. And I liked having this mystery of the beast before we saw it. Towards the beginning, we're shown dead bodies with boils all over it, huge footprints in the mud that are far too large for any animal, but no perpetrator. They did a great job at making us think if the monster is actually real or if it's the work of some people with an agenda who is leveraging this myth of Monstrum to gain power. You'll see how all this plays out when you watch the movie. The third act seemed to be the longest act in the whole movie, but with all the backstabbing going on and having to resolve all of that and trying to figure out how to take this beast down took a lot of time. But I never got bored. I thought it was awesome. The ending was a little cheeky, but you know what? I'm not surprised, as this movie had a lot of silly moments in it. Overall, I highly recommend you watch Monstrum on Shudder or another VOD platform if you can find it. And speaking of Shudder, if you don't have it, I do recommend also you just trying out their 7-day free trial and looking at all the titles they have available. And no, I'm not getting paid to say this at all. I just really like Shudder. Oh, and real quick, if you haven't checked out Tubi yet, Tubi, great selection of horror there also. I think it was at Horror Fan Ryan that said it best, where Tubi is where it's at for horror right now. Shudder is awesome, but you know, he's kind of right. They have a great selection, so check that out too. Shout out to Horror Fan Ryan. He's awesome. And that's it for me right now, Horror Fam. I just wanted to say thanks again for coming by my channel, checking out this video. I hope you watch more of my videos. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I hope you do so now and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And let's be friends to the end, people. You know you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Horror Hack. Once again, my name is Johnny. Keep supporting horror, and this has been one hack of a show.